So I will open this Q&A with the first question, and then please feel free to raise your hand and to ask for your questions. So what sources did you use to write this film?
Well, the first source for the film was a biography by an author named Kenneth Hunt, who was also the head of the Swedish film industry once, and he was the one who gave me the chance to do feature films. The Emigrants, for instance, was one of them. And he asked, Kenneth Hunt asked me if I would like to direct a film based on his biography, and I was thrilled by the thought, but you don't easily make a film script based on a biography. It encompasses so much, and you have to find the story for the filming. Then we had very, very good help from another biography written by Segerstedt's secretary, Estrid Anker, who was also in the film. And she, when Segerstedt died 1 month before the end of the war, after a while she started collecting material for her biography. And she interviewed about 300 people and kept the record of the interviews, and that was left at the University of Gothenburg, where we had a chance to see it all, read it all, and that gave a fantastic new view of the man. You could, I mean, he became, from being a sort of statue to many people, he became a human being. So that's it. By the way, I asked Johanna to be here because my hearing is not perfect. It's a little bit out of sync sometimes, so and she can help me translate if I need. And she also played Ingrid, the daughter in the film, and was the second assistant, director's assistant. Okay.
How
long did it take you from the idea to the finished film? And do you always write your own script? I'm sorry,
I don't know, yeah. So how long did it take from the beginning to the
idea to the finished film?
From the idea to the end to finish the film? How long did it take?
Well, I think, except for the 2 American productions I've been involved in, Zandy's Bride and The Hurricane, a long time ago, I've taken part in the script writing, sometimes with one author, sometimes with 2. And this time we were 2, the Danish writer Klaus Rifbjerg and I, and it took a long time actually from we started our work till we got the chance to do the first shooting. About 2 years, but we didn't work continually all the time. There were other things in between.
Was it your choice to use Boss 3 Sad Waltz? And if so, why?
Yes.
What did, sorry?
Was it your choice to use the Sad Waltz? And if so, why?
Was it your choice to choose, I'm sorry.
The question is why I chose to use the piece of music, Valse Trist, by Sibelius. And it was an idea I got one morning. I was driving my car to go to town, and I had the radio on, and they played that piece of music. I knew it before, but suddenly I just got a feeling that this would be perfect for the story.
Were the dogs from the biography, or did you add those?
Well, I think everybody heard the question. Yes.
Well, the dialogue of, is part of it. Actually, is very close to reality. For instance, the king's dialogue in the meeting with Segerstedt. It was written down by Segerstedt's daughter in the way he had told her after the meeting. And there are other things that are authentic, but otherwise the dialogue is mostly constructed based upon the characters we had material about, as I told before.
I'll ask the question again. Were the dogs, were they were they real to Segerstedt?
So what about the dogs? They were like the real dogs?
Did you have dogs? Did you have dogs, or was that your
Yes, that was very close to reality. Segerstedt was known to all the people in Göteborg, the town, for walking every day to away from his work, and always at least with 2 dogs. And he had, during the period we worked at the film, he had 2 different bulldogs. For the film, we couldn't afford 2 different bulldogs. So we had to repaint one of them after the first one died. I'm not sure you can tell the difference, but one has the white half of the face and the other one is brown. It's also true that one of the dogs got poisoned during this period, and everyone was convinced that it was one of the Nazis in Göteborg who had done it. He was also known always to have one very big dog, and usually a Grand Danois. We had 3 dogs trained for the film, and there were 2 young girls who worked with the dogs all the time, and we used kilos of meatballs during the time, because that was the way you can make them walk from here to there. So, the actor, Jesper Christensen, that was one of the things he feared in advance for making this part, to work with the dogs. Not that he was afraid of dogs, but he knew from experience that they take a lot of time, and that time is taken from the actors' work. And they also take a lot of attention from the audience. They look at the dogs instead. But it turned out that at the end it happened that he was asking for more scenes with the dogs.
Yes, and this will be the last question.
Story today, in Sweden today, what is the attitude toward Swedish neutrality during the Second World War, and more specifically toward allowing the transit of Sweden into Norway by the Germans?
Everybody heard the question?
Yes.
Oh yes, that is sort of a shame that the Swedish people had been wearing all the time after the war, and but I'm not so sure they should. I don't think that should stay with us all the time, because there were so many reasons that Sweden couldn't stand up against the Germans. That we had no a very poor army at the time, and as the king said, we would not have been able to defend ourselves more than 10 days. Well, anyway, I think you can look at that from two different angles, from when it actually happened and from now when we know what really happened, and ask ourselves, could we have acted differently? I'm sure there were many different options, but as I was born 1931 and was 8 or 9 years when the war started, and I had to go with our family to evacuate on the 11th of April 1940, just 2 days after Hitler invaded Denmark and Norway. We were sure that the Germans were on their way to Sweden, and the schools were evacuating. So if I ask myself, and would it have been worth risking the lives of so many people, and I'm thinking from the perspective of the Prime Minister and the government, to go to war with Germany and Russia as it would have been at the time? Well, I don't have a certain answer, but I think it's also that every country tried at the beginning to stay neutral before they were drawn into it, forced into war. But it has been a sort of bad feeling resting a little bit between the Scandinavian countries because of this.
I do think a lot of people have forgotten about it. I mean, this brings it up, but I think young people in Sweden, I don't think they spend much time thinking about this.
No, I think there's a difference between generations, yes. I don't think, well, you are a young generation.
Well, I'm your daughter, so I think about it.
I don't know that today many young people in Sweden know who Segerstedt was. I'm sure they don't. I know they don't. But I hope they will.
So unfortunately, I have to close this Q&A right now. So thank you.
Thank you.